Hey old double 1/8 Seth Shadow here. It's finally time. We're in the release week of the first duel set of Shadowverse Evolve for the international format. This is a combination of two different sets that we have. World Reaver's Descent, which is originally set 12 in Japan, and Dominion of Darkness, set 13. With this combination, there have been some changes in terms of the ratios when cracking open boxes. So now when you open up boxes, you are going to get more legendaries than you would typically expect to get in a box. Before, when they first changed the ratios to make it 12 packs per box, the number of legendaries that you would get was limited to 4, maybe 5 legendaries per box if you were lucky. And now the ratio has increased to 6 to 7 legendaries per box. But they maintain the same ratios when it comes to the number of boxes that you get in a case and the number of packs that you get in a box. And in addition to that, when it comes to cases, they also increase the count of the number of higher rarity cards like ultimates that you would typically expect to see in a case. Originally, you would only get 2 to 3 ultimates per case. Now you will get 4 to 5 depending on what other big cards you might pull, as there are special cards like SPs and a big box topper that is also not guaranteed per case, which is a special evolve point called Shared Memories. With that, let's go ahead and see where some of the singles on the product land right now. Cases are starting off around $980 with a market price of about $780. There were a few cheap ones that sold off pretty quickly when they went on the market. Boxes are currently around $49 with a market price of $56. And one of our biggest items that's moving apparently is one of the 2 SPs that you can pick up in the set of Sekka Ninefold Blaze. And this card is definitely going to be one of the most sought after out of this double set, as it's quite popular in Forestcraft for the next upcoming several sets, including this current format. Gremory Death Teller is also a pretty popular one. The ultimate one has a market price around $170, and even the regular legendary has been moving quite rapidly, with only 5 listings left on the market and a market price of about $11. Then you also have On Mysterian Imperatrix, part of the academic archetype, which is currently $12 with 7 listings and a market price of around $15. Drake Fury Dragon Lord, or Fiery Dragon Lord, currently has its base form sitting with 8 listings at $12 to start, but a market price around $15.50. One of our big neutrals, Natural Machinus, which works with both Machina and Natura, has 6 listings that start at $21 with a market price just under $20. The Evo of Drake Fury Dragon Lord is also $12 right now. The Super Legendary of On is currently $25 at the lowest with 3 listings. The Evo Point Special Shared Memories has a market price of $200 and a base listing of $200 right now. Rending Blast, which works with Un, the SL of this is $30. Market price is also right around that point. And as we continue through this front page, we can see that both versions of Sekka, Fatebound Fox, which is the regular main deck card, and the Advanced Ninefold Blaze are both on the front page with listings in the high 30s right now. Albert Thunderous Doom and Aluzard Time-Worn Vampire are also up here. Aluzard is currently around $12.50, while Albert is sitting at about $4. The regular Rending Blast Legendary is currently around $9, while Albert's Evo is currently around $7. Forte's new form, Sovereign Supreme, is currently $9. And you also have New on Daybreak Vampire, which is an Abyss Machina card. So with Mono potentially getting some popularity back, this card is also has a decent amount of popularity too. But let's not forget some other good stuff that you can find in here, like Shipsbane Plesiosaurus for Dragon Natura, This is a pretty solid card overall. One other thing to note, there are a number of cards in this set that feature the typical Shadowverse cast along with their counterparts from Machina and Natura, like this Garnet Waltz, which features Mono along with Urias. This is normally a silver card in this set, but all of those character combo cards also come in super legendary form. There is one available for $13 right now, and the market price is currently around $13.50. But I figure I would note that right now, given that it's unusual for non-legendary cards to have a higher rarity beyond just a regular foil. So, just keep that in mind that for these ones, which usually are silvers or golds, they're all super legendary for their higher rarity. Another card to keep in mind would be stuff like Rolla Inferno Dragoon. This card originally was from Dragoncraft in the original Shadowverse game. However, it's been moved to Havencraft, and it still has its Evo as well. Jerva's newest form, Worm Transcendent, is also available in this set, starting from around $3.50. And as for Rolla, Rolla is currently around $4 for both her base and her legendary. Baphomet also gets his newest form, World Reaver, which is currently around $3 to pick up the regular legendary and the Evo legendary. Other stuff on the second page include the foil of Greya Scorching Fury, Greya's newest form to work with with Academia. Currently $11 for the foil, market price is around $10.50. Some other stuff. Lunarian Paladin is a Havencraft card that works generically for cost 2 base cards, and has extra bonuses when working with ward cards. This is pretty solid, and currently its Evo is just under $2, but this is one of those gold Evos which I wouldn't be surprised if it actually took off quite a bit. And of course, like I said, it's a gold Evo. If you've been watching my market watches for a while, you know my stance on those, and you know where I think those cards will end up going. Planetary Fracture on the third page is an 8-cost neutral spell that, oh man, it lives up to its name. And there's a reason this card was limited on release for the international format. Currently it's $7 with a market price of $9. It was playable at $3 in Japan for some time, but it's limited to 1 now. Reason being is that this card single-handedly can just win the game quite quickly once you get to 8 points. And if you are playing control-based decks like Haven, it's usually pretty easy to win the game with this card. But it's just a matter of whether or not you get overrun by aggro. That's really the only issue. But with a limitation to 1, you now have to hope that you don't end up getting this card removed somehow from playability. Friends Forever is another character combo card featuring Luna. It's an SL and has that one at $22 right now. There are foil box topper tokens like Resentful Blaze, currently available for around $2. Aria Miasma Fairy's in here for about $4. You also have Changewing Shroob. The foil of this is $6, but this is also a Machina Natura hybrid that you can play in either deck. And then there's also Magna Zero, which is a port from Portalcraft, and it's in Swordcraft. This card is currently around $3.50 for its legendary and has a market price of around $9. A lot of legendaries fell off quite quickly, and there are still a good number of them that are popular even at the start. But when you consider how this set works and the fact that it gives you more legendaries, being 2 sets in 1 and still getting a pretty solid play set of each legendary in a case is not bad at all for still maintaining the same price. So I can't really say where it'll end up going. My thought would be that this will end up becoming pretty valuable, as there are still a lot of cards in here that will be used as we go along. But there are also a good amount of cards from here that are going to get reprinted once we get to March. Now on to some other items like Romelia Lightning Striker. With Drotch getting introduced with this duel set, he's actually a Dragonic Duelist. So, if you're looking for Dragonic Duelist support, a lot of it comes from set 9, which is, it's hard to get legendaries in this set because of the fact that the Draconic Duelist and Academia support that was made in a double deck in Japan was haphazardly added into set 9, thereby skewing its ratios. And unlike this dual set, Bushiro didn't do anything to change the ratios of this set. So right now, the regular legendary for this has a base of around $8 and a market price that's been increasing. It's currently less than $5, but there are only 4 listings ranging from about 9 overall to 15. But I would take a look at some of the higher rarities. They are, especially when it comes to the super legendaries, I've talked about this too. Lots of them tend to get overlooked, and they tend to be around the same price. But it's more likely you're going to find more copies from a single seller in the case of the regular legendaries. Like with Romelia's Evo right here, you can get multiples from one of the sellers here, even though it's a $5 shipping tag to get a whole playset. A foil from set 7, Augmentation Bestowal. If you are looking to build Machina Haven, and you're also looking to bling it, this card is a little short on listings right now. 4 overall, starting from $3, and it got some sales more recently, all at $2 and $3 from August to now. And right now, there's availability from basically just $3 across the board, with some of these having a higher shipping tag. Great Pick Corpse's promo, which is the winter promo of this season's, or I should say this month's season shop tournaments, has defied the typical curse, I would say, of all of these winter promos, and has actually maintained some decent value. Currently, it's $6 at the lowest with 10 listings, but you can see that even though it's a bit more sporadic, players are still buying these for 10, and they keep dropping to about 6, but players are still buying these for around 10 and higher, which is very unusual for a winter promo, especially several months into its time frame. So that's very interesting to see. Exotic Adventurer's regular gold from set 11, Bullet of Fate, has been moving up in value, and that was to be expected given that this card is a shoe-in for Wasteland-based decks, and there are lots of those. 6 listings on the market right now, and the market price is currently around $1.30. However, you can see that we've had quite a few sales of this card that exceeded $2 and even nearly got to $3. So if you happen to find this card for $1 or less without the incredibly high shipping rates, I would say that's pretty good to grab because, again, this card is very, very popular when it comes to building Wasteland, which is likely to be a recurring archetype for at least a few more sets. One of the Seaside Memory exclusives, Alice Golden Afternoon. The last time I spoke about this card, it was really low in value, and now it's starting to pick itself back up a little bit. And this card being neutral and having a generically decent effect can find itself in a lot of decks where it can just be played from the EX area for various types of support. So right now, it can be picked up for about 9, and the market price is currently around 10. There were a lot of listings at one point that brought this card all the way below $5, but it looks like those are long gone now, as we're looking at from halfway through this month onward, it's basically been a $10 plus card. So if you were able to pick this up for $5 or lower, you did pretty well for yourself. Keep in mind, though, that the Super Legendary is not too far away on this one. I think it's at a low of about 13. But then, the thing about Seaside Memories is that there are multiple rarities for a lot of the bigger cards, like this one especially, which actually has 5 different versions of the card that you can pick up. Spinaria Wavering Will is another card that You were able to pick this up in the dollar range at some point, but this is another card for Forest Craft that will likely get played quite often and in a variety of different decks. And the price has been going back up for this one. 19 listings on the market, and it's currently $450 at the lowest. And you can see, halfway through the month, this card was still available for around $1 to $2, but it's picked up since then, and now players are picking this up around $4 to $5 instead. Still not ridiculously expensive, and again, the super legendaries are comparable, but you're more likely to be able to pick up a playset through the legendary than the super legendary listings, which is another issue. Now, I also want to talk about the special SPs that you can pick up in this set. There are only 3 of them available, and even after all this time, we still haven't really seen any sales on any of them. The first one, Felice, the reason why there are no sales on this is because there's also no listings at all on this card. We haven't seen a single one move. We don't have a single one on the market. So I don't know where this card is hiding, but it's the only one of the 3 that still hasn't made its way up here. The next one, Spinario Wavering Will, currently has a low listing of $750 and 2 listings on the market right now, but also hasn't had a single sale. $750 and $850 are the only 2 listings on the market for this card. And keep in mind, this is one of 2 SPs that Spinaria comes in. The same with Felice. And this one is the harder one to get. Or rather, it's the rarer one in the sense that this is the only time this artwork appears on the card. All other versions of Spinaria use the artwork from the legendary. And then, of course, the biggest card of the whole set, the alternate SP of Alice Golden Afternoon, the card that we went through at the beginning for this set. $1,700 is the only listing available for this card, and I'm not surprised that this is the price point, given that even in Japan, this card could sell for at least 150k yen. However, $1,700 is still higher than that, so at least for Japan conversion, you'd be looking at more like $1,200, $1,100. And at this point, there are still no sales on this card either, which honestly is a little bit concerning, given that it's just somewhat concerning. But at the same time, this is a really expensive card, and this current price point is actually higher than the highest price point that we saw for the Swimsuit Forte that we got from set 11 too. We'll see where it goes from here, but at this point, as much as I would like to say $1,500 is a stable and fair price on it, it really all depends on just how much people want it too. Octress Omen of Usurpation, all the way back from set 5. The base form for this card has 11 listings with a moderately played one to start, followed by a lightly played, which are 14 and 15 respectively. But after that, all near mint copies move from $17 upward, with a few that have some consolidation, mostly just as playsets. The card itself has been moving for a range of about 15 to 18 in the last month. And as we get closer to the dual sets of 14 and 15, we should be seeing more support for this card come through. I remember seeing a comment about double-sided Evos really needing some more attention and reprints, and honestly, I couldn't agree more. A lot of them are still relevant even in this current format, and as far as I can tell, there is no reprint in sight for any of them. As an example, Orchis Resolute Puppet and Vengeful Puppet has 3 listings for its regular legendary and is currently $31 to pick up. Its market price has been picking up over the last 3 months and is now around $25, and the card has been moving for $30 more recently. Sporadic, but it is moving. And the only available listings all go from $31, and that's what they're basically at. While Orchis herself is not likely to get as heavily played as it used to, it's still relevant in a number of decks. And then, of course, you've got cards like Celia's Double Evo, and even some lower rarity ones like Hind if you're playing Amulet Haven. So, and there's also Lindworm too for players who are still considering that one. The super legendary versions of the trial deck Overlord set for Dragonic Overlord, well, there's a stark difference in getting the Evo versus the regular right now. The Evo Super Legendary now has a base listing of $19, a steep drop off from what its market price used to be, but it's still about $51, also because we're not really seeing many sales. The last sale we saw was a few days ago at 34, and then before that it was 42. Now we're looking at least 3 listings that are underneath 40 and 2 listings that are 20 and under, if you don't include shipping and handling. But then you have the base form of it. The super legendary for this one still has a base price of around 70 and 4 listings on the market. And this one hasn't even sold since the beginning of October, where that last sale was 80. The lower prices that sold were the initial ones back in August at 50 and 60. At this point, this one's pricing goes from 70 all the way to 120 amongst 4 listings. So, it doesn't look like sellers are as inclined to get rid of this one as they are on the Evo. And that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys later.